The ballroom was filled with expensive suits, polished heels, soft jazz music, and the usual corporate arrogance. My wife, Emma, worked at one of the biggest consulting firms in the city, and tonight was their annual corporate gala. She looked stunning, no doubt about it. But the way she carried herself in that crowd, as if she were above me, stung every time she smiled at someone else more warmly than she ever did at me. Still, I stood beside her proudly, thinking I was her husband, her partner, her equal. That illusion shattered in seconds. We were standing in a circle with her colleagues when someone casually asked, "So, is this your husband?" Emma laughed lightly, took a sip of her wine, and said, "Oh, no. He's just my boyfriend." The word just hit me like a slap. Just a boyfriend. After being married for 3 years, after sharing a home, dreams, and plans, the group chuckled innocently, not realizing what she had done, publicly shrinking me down for the sake of appearing more desirable, more independent. I stayed silent, but my heart hammered. Before I could even process it, one of her colleagues stepped forward. Ava, tall, confident, beautiful, and with a smile that could melt iron. She extended her hand to me and said, "Well, if he's just your boyfriend, then I'd like to be his next girlfriend." The group went silent. A few people choked on their drinks. Emma's smile vanished completely. Her eyes flickered with shock, then jealousy, and for the first time that night, I felt seen. Ava wasn't done. She stood beside me close enough for Emma to notice and asked softly, "So, are you actually taken or just temporarily reserved?" The way she said it wasn't flirting. It was poetic justice. She had seen what Emma did and she wasn't going to let it slide. Emma forced a laugh, grabbed my arm tightly, and said, "Okay, that's enough. He's with me." But the damage was already done, and everyone knew it. Dinner was served, but Emma barely touched her food. She kept whispering, "Why aren't you saying anything? Why are you letting this happen?" I looked at her calmly and replied, "I didn't downgrade you tonight. You did that to me." She went silent. Her fork stopped moving. For once, she had nothing clever to say. Meanwhile, Ava glanced at me from across the table and winked as if silently, telling me, "You deserve better." After dessert, I excused myself and walked toward the balcony. Moments later, Ava joined me with 2 glasses of champagne. "I'm sorry if I caused drama," she said, leaning against the railing. "But you didn't deserve to be introduced like that." I smiled for the first time that night, not because she flirted with me, but because someone finally acknowledged my dignity. We talked about work, ambition, relationships, nothing inappropriate, but everything honest. And that honesty felt like oxygen. Inside the hall, Emma was watching us. Her arms were crossed, her jaw tight. She suddenly looked like a stranger, someone who only cared when she felt she was losing control. As I walked back inside, she grabbed my wrist and said through clenched teeth, "You're embarrassing me." I looked her straight in the eye and replied, "No, you embarrassed me the moment you called me, just a boyfriend." Her face turned pale. She pulled me aside away from everyone and whispered, "Why are you being so dramatic?" I laughed quietly. "Dramatic? Emma, I'm your husband. You erased that tonight like it meant nothing." She opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out. Her confidence, her favorite weapon, was gone. Minutes later, the CEO of the company approached us. He shook my hand firmly and said, "Nice to meet Emma's husband. She speaks so highly of you." The look on her face was priceless. Caught between relief and absolute humiliation. She had lied to seem impressive, but the truth had already spread. And the worst part, it wasn't me who exposed it. It was her own arrogance. The ride home was silent. No arguments, no apologies, just the weight of realization hanging in the air. When we reached home, she finally whispered, "I'm sorry. I don't know why I said that." I looked at her, not with anger, but with exhaustion. "You wanted to look single and superior in front of them. Congratulations. You succeeded. But you lost something tonight, too." She broke down, tears streaming down her face. But I wasn't the same man who walked into that gala. I had felt invisible for too long. That night, I didn't yell. I didn't slam doors. I just walked into the guest room and locked the door behind me. And for the first time, she was the one left outside, scared, speechless, and terrified of losing.